everyone, welcome back to my class. Myself Rumana Ali. I hope you all are fine. So we have seen that in our surroundings around us many different things are present like plants, animals, and the land is present, water is present, air. So all these things are present in our surrounding and we can call this surrounding as environment. So in today's class I am going to start a new lesson and the lesson name is our environment, our concern. So as I said you that our surroundings can be called as our environment, and this environment shows the presence of all the things like plants, animals, air, land, water, and many different living organisms also. This environment plays a very important role in the survival of organism because the organisms can obtain their physical and the biological factors from the environment, and that physical and biological factors that are obtained from the surroundings makes the organism to live and to survive in this and to survive on the planet Earth. If we want to define the word environment more specifically or in a more defined way, then we can say that it is the sum of physical and biological factors. And these physical and biological factors that can be found in our surroundings, they show some chemical interactions in between them. So how they show the chemical interactions? First, we'll see what are the physical factors and what are the biological factors. The physical factors are land, water, air, sunlight, and many other. And the biological factors includes plants, animals, and the different microorganisms. Now we'll see one example to understand how the chemical interactions are shown in between the physical factors and biological factors. Here the example is the air shows the presence of oxygen in it, and this oxygen is utilized or is taken up by the animals or by the humans. Okay, so this oxygen is consumed by the humans, and the humans, after consumption of oxygen, it releases the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and this carbon dioxide is a gas which is released by the humans, and this carbon dioxide can be used by the plants which is released in the atmosphere. So in this way we can find the chemical interaction between the physical factors and the biological factors that leads to the survival of an organism. So this chemical interaction makes the organisms to survive on the planet Earth, and it also helps the organisms to evolve. We have discussed about the evolution in our last chapter or in our last lesson that evolution is a very important process. Evolution is nothing but the changes that occurs in the body of the living organisms or the changes in the characters that are shown by the living organisms. So this process is a very important process in the living world that can be observed in an environment in the different living organisms. So this chemical interactions also help the organisms to evolve, and as the physical factors and the biological factors are interlinked through the chemical interactions, the one organism alone cannot take part in all the activities. The one organisms cannot be suited in the environment. They need, or it needs, a collection of animals. So by this we came to know that the plants and the animals are dependent on each other, and we have already studied in our lower classes how they are dependent on each other and how the food chain and the food web is formed. So let us discuss about the food chain in detail. Food chain is a chain of living organisms depending upon their food requirement. Based on their food requirement, a chain is formed between the different organisms, and that chain is called as food chain. And here in the food chain we can see the presence of 4 to 5 organisms, and one organism is dependent on the other. Okay, so this dependency of one organism on the other is depicted or it is shown by a chain. That chain is called as food chain. As I said you before that the food chain shows the presence of 3 to 4 organisms and they are dependent on each other. So here one organism that is present in the one food chain can be a part of the another food chain also. The food chains that are more in number, they are interlinking, and that shows or that gives you a food web. The number of the food chains that are interlinked together gives food web. Now we are going to see how to form a food chain. First we'll take the animals, rabbits, hogs, snakes and grass. We are having these things. Now let us arrange them in a correct order to represent a food chain that forms by these organisms. So first the grass will come, because the grass is a producer which produces the food by using the solar energy from the sunlight. And here we'll draw one arrow. This arrow should always point from the food to the feeder. So here the feeders are rabbit. The grass is eaten up by the rabbits, and these rabbits are eaten up by the snakes, and these snakes are eaten up by hogs. In this way, a food chain is formed, and by looking at this food chain, we can see how the one organism is depending on another to get their food. So this is called as food chain. By observing the different food chains that we can observe in our surroundings, we can clearly say, or we can notice some of the points, and that are, the first thing is, in a food chain there will be at least 3 to 4 organisms involved. And one more point that we can notice here by seeing this food chain is the organisms. The food chain always begins with the producers and it proceeds with the consumers. In this food chain, the grass is a producer, the rabbits are the primary consumers, snakes are the secondary consumers, and hogs are the tertiary consumers. So the food chain always begins with the producers and it proceeds to the consumers. The organisms that are present in the first steps, or in the first steps of the food chains, are more in number when compared to the other steps. Here we can see that the more number of rabbits are present when compared to the number of the snakes. So always the number of the organisms decreases when we proceed forward in the food chain. So these are the points that we can notice by seeing a food chain in which the grass, rabbits, snakes and hogs are involved. And in the 8th class, you have studied about the different ecosystems. While studying that, we have also studied about the energy flow between the different, or among the different organisms, how the energy flow takes place among the different organisms. And here, when the producers produce energy by utilizing the sunlight is a main source of energy, and that energy is trapped by the producers, that means by the green plants, and that green plants are able to convert that solar energy into the chemical energy. And after the conversion of solar energy into the chemical energy is provided to the other consumers. It is present for the consumers, and the consumers are able to take that chemical energy from the producers. In this way, the energy which is produced by the producers, that is by using the sunlight, will 100% of the energy is going to be transferred to the consumers. Of course, most of the energy, that is 80 to 90% of the energy, can be transferred from the producers to the consumers. But after the transfer of energy to the consumers, in the body of the living organisms, the chemical energy, when it enters, 10% of the energy is utilized in carrying out the different processes, and most of the energy is dissipated in the form of heat. Here the dissipated means it is wasted, or we can say it as disappear. So here the most of the energy is dissipated in the form of heat or in the form of other waste products. Only less amount of the energy is available for the secondary consumers. After the primary consumers trapped or get the energy from the producers, that energy is going to be reduced, or it is going to be disappear in the form of heat. So in such situation, or in such cases, we can say that a little amount of the energy is available for the secondary consumers. Then in the secondary consumers, various activities takes place. In the body of the secondary consumers also, most of the amount of energy is disappear in the form of heat or in the waste materials. So here one point is clear, that the energy which is present for the last or for the tertiary consumers or for the top carnivores is very less when compared to the primary consumers. So here the flow of energy decreases when we proceed forward in the food chain. When we proceeding in the food chains, the amount of the energy available for the next level is very less. So by this we can अंडरस्टैंड द फ्लो ऑफ एनर्जी इन द फूड चेन। अभी हम बात करेंगे फूड चेन के बारे में। फूड चेन यानी एक ऐसी चेन बनना डिफरेंट ऑर्गेनिजम्स के बीच में बेस्ड ऑन फूड का रिलेशन बताना, तो उस चेन को हम बोलेंगे फूड चेन। और यहाँ पर हमने एक फूड चेन का एग्जाम्पल लिया है जहाँ पर ग्रास है जो कि प्रोड्यूसर्स है। ग्रास को प्रोड्यूसर्स इसलिए कहा जाता है क्योंकि वो सनलाइट की एनर्जी यानी सोलार एनर्जी को ट्रैप करते हैं और फिर उसको कन्वर्ट करते हैं केमिकल एनर्जी में। ये केमिकल एनर्जी फिर कंज्यूमर्स को ट्रांसफर करते हैं, इसके लिए इसको प्रोड्यूसर्स कहा जाता है। और यहाँ पर प्राइमरी कंज्यूमर्स है रैबिट ग्रास को खाएंगे, इसके लिए इसको प्राइमरी कंज्यूमर्स कहा जाएगा। और स्नेक्स रैबिट्स को खाएंगे, फिर इसको सेकेंडरी कंज्यूमर कहा जाएगा। और हॉग्स जो है वो स्नेक्स को खाएंगे, इसके लिए इसको टर्शियरी कंज्यूमर्स कहा गया है। और फूड चेन यूजुअली शॉर्ट रहती है जिसमें 3 से 4 ऑर्गेनिजम्स इन्वॉल्व रहते हैं। और ये वाले फूड चेन को ऑब्जर्व करने से हमें ये पता लगा है कि हमेशा फूड चेन प्रोड्यूसर्स से ही स्टार्ट होती है। ये फूड चेन प्रोसीड होती है, 3 तरह के कंज्यूमर्स रहेंगे फूड चेन में, जो है प्राइमरी कंज्यूमर्स, सेकेंडरी कंज्यूमर्स और टर्शियरी कंज्यूमर्स। और यहाँ पर एनर्जी फ्लो के बारे में भी हमने पढ़ा है कि एनर्जी जो भी प्रेजेंट होती है प्रोड्यूसर्स में वो ट्रांसफर होती है प्राइमरी कंज्यूमर्स में। और जैसा जैसा एनर्जी का ट्रांसफर दूसरे वाले कंज्यूमर्स की बॉडी में होते जाएगा वैसे ही एनर्जी जो है कम होते जाएगी, एनर्जी लेस होते जाएगी फूड चेन जैसा प्रोसीड होगा। सो दिस इज अबाउट द फूड चेन। लेट अस स्टडी अबाउट द बायोस्फीयर। बायोस्फीयर इज अ लार्ज पार्ट ऑफ एन एनवायरनमेंट. It shows almost everything. Every living organism is present in the biosphere, which is a large part of an environment. So this biosphere here shows the different ecosystems like terrestrial ecosystem, aquatic ecosystem and many other. Terrestrial ecosystem constitutes the organisms that lives on land, and aquatic ecosystem shows the presence of animals that are present in the water. So in this way, the different ecosystem constitute the part of an environment called biosphere. And here we can take the examples of Sahara Desert, Koleru Lake and Himalayas. So these are some of the examples, and in these regions we can see the variations in the climatic factors. If we take the example of Himalayas in India, then it begins with a tropical forest and it ends or it goes up to the hill, and at the top of the hill we can see the presence of snow or ice. So in this way, the Himalayas which are present in the India, it also shows the different ecosystem, and that different ecosystem shows the different climatic factors, and the climatic factors are rainfall, availability of sunlight, humidity. So these are all climatic factors based on which the climate of a region is decided. And these climatic factors which are present, they do not show the link or they cannot give the exact linking about the food relations. So we have already discussed about the food chain, and in the food chain we can see the presence of different kinds of living organisms. But by studying the food chain also, we cannot easily estimate the food relations or the food links. We cannot easily understand the food relations even by studying the food chains, because the food chain is very short, which comprises of 3 to 4 living organisms, and in the food chains 1 or more organisms may be a part of one or other food chain. So in this way, by understanding the food chains also, we cannot clearly estimate the food relations among the different living organisms. So as I said you that one organism that is present in the food chain may be a part of another food chain. So here we'll take one example, that is aphids. Aphids are the insects which are eaten up by the ladybirds. They are also eaten up by some other birds, and they are eaten up by the warblers. In this way, the aphids will be a part of more than one food chain. So one more example here we can see is hawks. Hawks can be able to eat, or hawks eat snakes. They also eat many rats, and they can also eat many rodents. So in this way, hawks are present in more than one food chain. So by these examples, we can say that the organism can be a part of more than one food chain. That is the reason the food chain cannot be used, or it cannot be studied to understand for better understanding of the food relations. Here we can see that the aphids are eaten up by the birds, warblers and ladybirds. So this aphids can be present in all these food chains. And here we can see that the snakes, rats and rodents, all these things are eaten up by the hogs. So hogs can be a part of more than one food chains. So in this way, the organisms that constitute the food chain may be present in the other food chain also. So by this we understand one thing, that just simply by studying and establishing the food chains, we cannot easily estimate or understand the interdependence of the different living organisms and the whole food relations we cannot understand. So to understand the food relations or the food linking system among the different living organisms, we need to study the food webs. Food webs are the group of the food chains results in the formation of a food web. So by studying the food webs, we can clearly understand the food relations or the food linking system. And when we talk about the energy flow, then the flow of energy that takes place from the sunlight, then it is transferred to the other living organisms, then again back to the environment. That energy is transferred again back to the environment. So this is a very complex process that needs to be taken place in an environment. So by this we came to know, or we understand one point, that the food webs are very useful to give the information about the interdependence and also about the food relations among the different living organisms. We know about the term habitat. Habitat is a place where the living organisms lives. Now we are going to discuss about one new term or another term, that is niche. Niche is a term that tells not only about the habitat of a living organism but also about the mode of nutrition that is used by the different organisms. Here we'll take the example of an aphid. Aphid is an insect that feeds on leaves. Similarly, the caterpillars are also feeding on the leaves, and here in this way, the habitat of aphid and the caterpillar is leaves of the plant. Let us talk about the mode of nutrition in aphids as well as in caterpillars. So when we talk about the mode of nutrition in aphids, the aphid sucks the juices of the leaves. So sucking juice is the mode of nutrition that takes place by the aphid, and the caterpillars are able to cut the leaves into pieces. They cut the leaves and they have that. So in this way, the mode of nutrition is different in the different organisms. And when we take the example of goat and deer, they are able to eat the leaves. The different living organisms, in spite of having same habitat, the mode of nutrition is different in the different living organisms. Here we can say that aphid suck the juices of the leaves, caterpillars cut the leaves, and goats and deers eats the leaves. The habitat of all these organisms is leaf, but the mode of nutrition is different. So niche is a term that tells us about the habitat of an organism and also about the type and the mode of nutrition in them. Thank you.